All right. Good morning. I am Jessica Pratt. It is approximately 7:30 on June 8th. This is going to be a video series on BPD, also known as borderline personality disorder. I'd like to point out that I am not a professional. All the discussion and advice and opinions in this video are just that. They're my personal opinions and should not be taken as professional advice or medical care provider advice. If you need that kind of advice legally, I have to tell you to go seek advice from a professional, which of course is indeed important. I would strongly suggest it be the correct professional and one that clicks with you and your beliefs. That being said, there are a lot of videos right now coming out about borderline personality disorder, BPD, and a lot of them are coming from the medical professional world, which is fantastic. It's great. I've seen some really great videos from like Med Circle, a wonderful person named Jamie Fox. I found his videos very helpful. So this is from the perspective of somebody who's been battling this long term, and I am looking back now from the perspective of being a 40-year-old. The other difference that this channel has, and my opinions have, is they have a strong God emphasis and God's only begotten Son emphasis, because to me, with all my experience, that truly is the answer. And I will tell you why. I have a background. Let's see what my background is. I grew up, both of my parents were professionals with their master's degrees. I was not trained in any one religion, really. I was baptized Catholic. I went to a Catholic church maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I was very much, my parents did not want to brainwash me. And in fact, everything for a reason. I do feel blessed. I didn't have any negative experiences early on, say in the church or in Christianity. My grandmother was a wonderful mentor, albeit I saw her maybe 8 times a year. She lived 3 hours away. And I was an only child and very, very isolated, living in the countryside. And so I then went to a prep school where I was taught to be skeptical and doubt and inquisitive, and really not taught how to clear my mind, but taught how to fill it up, which again, not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing. And so then went to college and very quickly was on burnout. Very much a type A with academics, used my academics as an escape from, like most BPD people have, a tumultuous childhood. I had 2 parents. I would say they're both wonderful people, but one struggled with their issues much more than the other, and it did have an impact. And unfortunately, in my life, I am married, and I currently have an 18-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I am the person who struggles with the issues, and I'm very cognizant of that. I'm really hoping that in the comment section there'll be room for discussion and opinions, and if people need advice, again, not professional, just like, kind of like one survivor to another, I'm open to doing that. And I'm hoping that this will encourage you. Today, when we look around, we don't see a lot of positive role models out there with that battle borderline personality disorder. If anything comes into the media, for example, the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing that's been all over the media, they are probably wonderful yet flawed people. I would probably be friends with them because I generally tend to get along with everybody. But with how they handle certain aspects, the one thing I can say that, in the brief moments that I followed it, is the emphasis on truth I really liked, but it is really hard to know what that is. And so that's not my role model. When Years ago, I was diagnosed, first of all, as bipolar. They were like, oh, that doesn't fit, really. You don't really have the highs. You don't really have the lows. You don't go on the spending sprees. You don't have the cycles that are typical of mania. Depression, anxiety, sure, some cycles, absolutely, but that was the closest they could get to me. And so at that time, my role model was Britney Spears. And I recognized that that wasn't a good role model either. No offense to Britney. I do try to live a life that doesn't contain expletives or isn't super demonstrative in what I would consider a way to express my emotions that would come out as negative. I try to channel it in a healthy way. If that's healthy for Britney, awesome. And if she is coming to a healthy place, awesome. But clearly early on, she was not happy in the way things were being handled, and probably not necessarily just of her own fault, but, from her family, wasn't the best. So it's not like I'm trying to judge anyone. I am not here to judge anyone. But they weren't a good demonstration of how to handle, at that time, what I thought was bipolar. And I can't find anybody really famous that I know of to be an example, like the person I want to be for borderline. A lot of borderline people, you'll notice, have tons of piercings and tattoos and dyed hair. Awesome. If that's helpful to them, no judgment, none at all. I actually, I really don't care. But that's not who I am. That's not my self-expression. That's not a role model for me, not somebody with whom I can identify. Although I have to say, one of a great helper to me was a girl like that, younger than myself. So I'm open to being taught. And so I can certainly see beneath all that. We are heart to heart. We are, the old cliche, we're kind of one, we're all God's creation, and to see underneath the surface to deep within. So I'm hoping that, if you are covered with tattoos, with dyed hair, and I probably even like some of your tattoos, that you don't judge me for my self-expression or my choices, for I will not judge you. All I'm trying to say is, as a role model, for somebody that I wanted to identify with, I couldn't find anybody, not one. I have to say that when I did do some more research, the biggest helper therapeutic-wise, as like, okay, how do we cope with this disability, is DBT, dialectical behavioral therapeutic treatment. Something like that. DBT is what it's known for, and it was created by a woman named Marsha Linehan. Marsha Linehan, I think, right now is the person I'm like, oh, I found you. She created DBT because she had BPD. The unknown fact to my therapist who told me about this, so then I researched her, was that she was Roman Catholic, and she credits God. She credits God for helping her find and develop this therapy. To me, that's a bit of a critical element that's often left out. For my viewers who are like shunning God, away from God, no, leave religion out of it. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't. For me, it became very, very clear to me that while everything we do can be a Band-Aid to help us cope, the damage that's done, the underlying root of the sickness, if you will, is trauma, most likely. I mean, we can be born with it. We have the genetic predisposition, certainly. But it was trauma of some sort, and probably also decisions on our end, even if, we were too young to be somewhat responsible for them, but decisions on our end and our environment that did damage to our relationship with God in whatever way. It cut us off from God within us, our own spirit within us. It caused us to veer off on paths that were not okay, quote unquote sin. But hey, I don't know I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If something causes you to go step on lava, the effect is you get burned badly. and you can say, oh, it's not my fault. You can try to push it off, but the fact is it's cause and effect. If God is love, if God is goodness, and if he cannot exist where there's hatred or what I call yuckiness, sin, hatred, then the things that happen to us as children or the things that we decided to do early on, they cause damage between us and our relationship with God. That is why, for me, it has become crystal clear that Christianity is the answer. It is the only religion I have found where repentance is such a big part of it, and forgiveness and healing. Where there is repentance, there is an owning of responsibility. Where there is forgiveness, there can be healing. And for me, God is the best parent in the world. And what parent wouldn't give of themselves to spare their children? To spare their children either, if the penalty was the death penalty, as the ideal parent, you'd step in for your child. You would offer yourself up for your child so that then they could be in the state of love with God the Father. Pure, truthful love forever and ever. And that is why God giving of himself through his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, Yeshua, whatever name you have for him, it makes sense. It makes such logical sense. And the fact that our culture has just pushed it away, and that we see all these mental health struggles, and that our culture literally seems to just be trying to push it out, whether it's through TV or music or movies, or even through therapies that don't want to have anything to do with God. It's very telling to me. One therapy that I have seen that this theory was put to the test when I went to Walmart one day, and I saw this group, and they do drug rehab and kind of some mental health rehab. And I noticed the guys seemed kind of rough, but hey, my read on them, we're very attuned, us BPD people. We're good at reading people. My read on them was that they were living good lives now, pretty clean, but they'd been through stuff. So who are they? What are they? And then I noticed one was wearing a cross. So I looked up the organization, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I'll try to post it afterwards. I didn't look them up super in depth, but quickly enough to realize that what they did was they looked at the root of the problem. So a lot of drug rehab places, they don't look at the root. They just try to put you in there and get you off and give you healthy habits, but they don't replace it. They don't replace that addiction with anything else or try to heal that, which is God. This group did. Their success rate as far as keeping people clean and living healthy lifestyles as opposed to traditional rehab was mind-blowing. I don't remember exactly what the statistics were, but it was something like 70% as compared to like 13%. It was mind-blowing. And to me, that's evidence. That's actual information. And so on all these categories, through this series, we'll be hitting on each one of these individual points more in depth. But for now, this is just a brief introduction. I'm really here to offer anybody and everybody who's struggling with BPD my experience, and hopefully you will either get encouragement, hope, learn something, whatever it is that is calling to you to continue the fight. To me, BPD is evil. It seeks to do nothing but destroy. I do not believe it is part of what God created us to be. I do believe it is the cross that we bear every day. And when we think we seem to have it under control, we are always on the watch for it. We are always looking out for the slightest hint that it's coming. That way we can head it off. For the people who are in DBT, this is, definitely wise mind versus emotional mind, and being so attuned that you see the slightest change of where you're supposed to be in that. I often need a lot of hope and encouragement myself. I am not above anyone. I am generally here to offer fellowship, seek support, give support, and be here. And also to say that I do firmly believe, after all this time, after veering off so many paths, which we can get into, that God and Jesus are the only answer. It is why I am still alive today. No doubt. It is why I'm alive today. And it is why I see hope and a light. So take it for what you will. All right. Thank you for joining me. Quick short video. I hope you have a great day, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye.